Hello, and welcome to Theory 101, Psychical Theories Pertaining to Clairvoyance. The following diagram shows how clairvoyant cognition, clairvoyant interaction, and clairvoyant simulation interrelate. Temporal features along with other mediumship-based abilities are shown in respects to which form of clairvoyance they most pertain. As one can see, there are many domains to clairvoyance, and the location of the domain is just as important to consider as where the domains overlap, i.e., where two or more abilities become assistive to each other. In the center of the diagram resides actual spirit communication as opposed to forms situated further from the center, suggesting less likelihood of direct spirit communication and stronger likelihood of nature communication pertaining to spirits, i.e., asking nature about spirits rather than asking the spirit itself. In addition, the further away from the center of the diagram, the more an experience focus or orientation is with the living rather than with the discarnate, or those physically present versus those not physically present. Experience of clairvoyant cognition are typically people-orientated in regard to the living and nature. That is, they mainly receive information pertaining to the living and their environment. Experience of clairvoyant cognition whose psychical experiences are situated furthest away from the center are more concerned with the future of events pertaining to the living and their environment in general. Those situated closer to the center are more concerned with current events and are more inclined to communicate with nature to receive information in regard to discarnates than those situated in the direct center. In a similar manner, clairvoyant simulators situated closer to the center are less inclined to communicate directly with discarnates and are more inclined to receive information from nature regarding discarnates. Experience of clairvoyant simulation that are situated furthest from the center are more inclined to receive information pertaining to past events of the living, those who have once lived, and historical information pertaining to past events in regards to nature in general. In the center is the interplay of mediumship and trance-mediumship that appear to result in clairvoyant interaction, and also the interrelation of mediumship and clairvoyant simulation, and possibly trance, that appear to result in physical mediumship. In regard to anomalous communication with entities that are not discarnate, these experiences can be situated in any area away from the direct center, and their placement is determinable by the temporal focus. For those who lean towards precognition and postcognition or retrocognition, these individuals are typically experienced of both clairvoyant cognition and simulation, which is what the arrow in the diagram represents, i.e., that the diagram loops back onto itself, whereby resulting in future-orientated clairvoyant simulators and past-orientated clairvoyant cognitives. This diagram shows another perspective of the types of clairvoyant experiences and temporal orientations. Here we have an additional component, which is clairvoyant empathy. Clairvoyant empathy is an emotional facet of clairvoyance that is mainly contemporaneously concerned with collective emotion, i.e., the emotions of a large group of living individuals such as a community or nation. This emotional facet then bridges into clairvoyant cognition, which still includes emotion but involves all types of information. However, experience typically lean towards one or several types of information as their strong suit more so than other types of information. When this bridging occurs between clairvoyant empathy and cognition, the temporal focus remains contemporaneous and the focus on the living becomes less collective, and the experience becomes more nature-orientated. Situated in the center of clairvoyant cognition, the experience is both contemporaneous and precognitively orientated. When bridging between clairvoyant cognition and simulation occurs, the temporal focus becomes precognitively and retrocognitively focused, mainly in regards to the environment or nature. Situated in the center of clairvoyant simulation, the experience is retrocognitively orientated, but may still maintain a precognitive focus under certain conditions. When bridging between clairvoyant simulation and mediumship, the temporal focus becomes both retrocognitively and contemporaneously focused. In addition, the orientation of the experient becomes exclusively focused on nature and discarnate entities. During this bridging, the information received in regard to discarnates is more likely received via nature rather than directly from a discarnate. In the center of mediumship, the focus is on the contemporaneous situation of those who once lived, i.e., are concerned with the current state of affairs of those who are currently deceased. When bridging between mediumship and clairvoyant empathy, the temporal focus is exclusively contemporaneous and is equally focused on the discarnate as much as the living and nature. This bridging typically is where those engaged in shamanic practices are situated, as they are focused on the current state of affairs of all three aspects, i.e., their community, the deceased, and their environment.